So this week for the design pattern stuff, we're going to be talking about the factory method. So last time we covered the template method, which is a behavioral design pattern that allows you to provide a standard outlook and then have the concrete subclasses actually define some of the extra steps. So you have shared logic in the base class, and then you give the methods, hey, here's some subclasses to do the things underneath. So today we're going to be doing the factory pattern. And the factory pattern, as the Geeks for Geeks defined it, is think of it a way to make objects with flexibility. It's like having a blueprint for creating things. You define an interface for creating objects, but the actual creation is left to the subclasses. And so we're going to implement that into Breakpoint AI, getting ready, and we're going to use it in a testing facility. So let's dive into that. So we're here in Breakpoint AI. We don't have any service tests yet. So when we have tests, we're going to need to create objects to be able to set them up for the different scenarios that we want to test. So right now there's not really any crazy scenarios because we don't have a lot of the logic implemented. But you can imagine that eventually there's going to be things like a player test where you want to make sure that the player provides a correct USTA rating, or when they do action X, result Y happens. So let's just go, and we're just going to stub this out, and this will probably be added later when we add tests, because that is a task in here. But let's just go here. Let's just add. So we have some of these DTOs. So these are things that are actually coming into the services. So if we look at something like the player service, the iPlayer service, because we're going to be, the iPlayer service would have a test. Things that we're passing in as like a create player DTO. So if you take a look at this DTO, you have a name, an email, and then a couple other things with a player DTO, like an ID, a created at, updated at, and an estimated player. And the other things in the iBase DTO is just a toModel, super simple. So yeah, that's really that simple. So you just need a name and an email. But the way you want to do the test is you don't want to have to derive and say, oh, every time I create a new player test, I have to new up the create player DTO, because maybe most tests have things embedded. So a super simple factory pattern. We go here, a class. So you need a factory class. Let's call this a player DTO. Maybe this is just a DTO factory. And then this specifies the logic of the creation. So instead of having the individual tests show how things are created, you just give it a factory pattern of saying, okay, now I just create the things that I need. There's actually examples of this. So builder is another design pattern, and that's used all over the place, specifically in the setup of a C# app. So we have a builder here. The builder pattern chains all these different things together for you. But there is the idea of an HTTP context factory. So instead of providing the way that I get an HTTP context, you provide the factory, and you say, these are the settings that I have for the factory. So that's a real world example, is the HTTP context factory. But go back to here, maybe you want a public, and let's just make this a static class for now. And for a nice high level overview, let me pull up this right here. I love W3 Schools. So if you can notice, and you just zoom in a little bit, here at the vehicle factory level, I create a vehicle. The vehicle is just an interface on top of four-wheeler and two-wheeler. So I want a factory up above that then is able to create all the things underneath. So in my example, I'm creating a DTO factory, and really it's going to be an interface. So I should have specified that. And when I create things, I'm just creating, and I already have a nice DTO that's relevant here. The iBase DTO, pull this to the side just to view it. Because now all we need to create So this is our factory pattern. This is our factory method, is create DTO. And that's not create I base DTO is the return result. And then it's create DTO where T is I base DTO, base model, where T is a base model. And that's like that. So now we have a super simple factory method that then the different, and what is this? Oh, static. I left static in there. Missing prefix I. Yes, I am. Let's just rename that. And I'll probably delete this anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But now we have an I DTO factory. And then when I want a player DTO, super simple to implement. Oh, and I probably want to throw the T up here actually. So just throw that up there, throw that, don't need you, don't need you. Okay, so now we have a factory. Does not implement create factory. So now the way you create a DTO here, and maybe you specify it with defaults. I don't know why, thank you. Sure. UST rating does not contain, what do you contain? Email? Yeah. But regardless, the factory method allows you to very quickly abstract out how you create things with an interface. So the factory method, it's used all over the place. HTTP context factory is the one that comes to mind here for ASP.NET and C#, but this could be it for our design pattern for today.